All right, lesson 25. We are creating a defender game. So let's walk through and build this game together. First thing that it's going to have you do, it says, is go and set the animations for each of your sprites. You can see that they've already created the animations for you in the animation tab. Right here, there's an alien, cake, and a ladybug. So we're going to set the animations for them. Being sure to name the var and then to set animation. Variable names the same. Where is the alien? Enemy 1 and enemy 2 share the ladybug image, and that's okay, you don't need more than one. Okay, so they're off the screen. That's ready to go. I love how they break this down step by step. You're going to want to do this when you build your own game. That's why they all do these, just to give you that idea of where to start, where to go. All right, we need to get our sprites to random positions. As enemies aren't even on the screen anywhere. So after each enemy sprite is created, we're going to set their X position to 0. And I'm going to do 1, and then I'm going to be smart, and I'm going to copy my code. Enemy 1's X 0. Enemy, I can spell here 1. Y, we're going to do a random number between 150 and 250. That's where the bridge is. And we want it to come out randomly on that bridge. And then we're going to set its velocity, X, to -2, or +2, sorry. We're going to move right across the screen. So we should have 1. Perfect. Now I can use this same chunk of code and copy it. And then I'm going to tap down here and paste. And just change these 1s to 2s. Save myself some time. Now sometimes these ladybugs might overlap each other, and that's okay. That's part of the randomness. Right now they should both go across the bridge. Beautiful. They're doing what they're supposed to do. Next, we're going to go into the move player function. We need to get the character moving left and right and changing its animation. So it says inside the move player function, use a condition to detect when the right arrow is pressed. I'm going to scroll down to move player, and I need some ifs in here. And I'm going to do if key down right. And if it is, the player is going to move to the right by 3, which is going to be the counter pattern. So I'm going to say player.x equals player.x plus 3. Beautiful. And then I want to do the same with left. But left is going to be moving again to the left, which is getting smaller on the x. So we're going to say minus, so I'm not going to copy my code over. You can if you want. You can also, which I can show you that actually. Let's look at that. I can copy and paste. Oops, paste right there. Paste. Now if you go into show text, it brings up the text and takes away the blocks. You can edit your code there when you have a lot of changes that need to be made, but not enough that you wouldn't have wanted to copy and paste it. So that's one way to, and then go back to show blocks, and now I've got left and right, except my code's being weird. So if this happens every now with code.org, make sure it says saved. It hasn't hit saved again yet. save. All right, I'm going to remix or refresh my screen and hope that it saved it. Otherwise, I have to do that again. It did. All right, run. Sometimes it will go white on the screen. When that happens, we just have to refresh. All right, so now our character moves left and right. Now we're going to do up and down. So we're going to go back into that move function, and I'm going to do some copying and pasting here. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to edit my code with the show text. So I'm going to do, oops. And I'm going to do up and down. So that changes from the X to the Y axis. So I want to move, oh, and that's backwards. So up is -3, and down would be +3, and moving positively on the Y. You could also just drag the box over if you don't want to do what I was doing with that. But now I can move up, down, left, and right, and dance with the little ladybugs. All right, change the player animation. So this is the trickier part. We want to make it so that the alien actually faces the direction it's in. Left and right. We're not going to do anything more than left and right. So if we go into animation, you can see here's the animation of the alien walking right. I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to change the name to alien walk left. And I'm going to flip both frames. You got to do frame 1 and frame 2 so that they're both facing left. So now I have an alien that walks left and an alien that walks right. Now, inside the move player function, when we turn right, we need to set the player animation to walk right. And when we move left, we're going to set the player animation to walk left. So now our main hero here is moving left and right and facing in the right direction. All right, if the enemy gets all the way across to the cake, either of them, they need to go back to the left side of the screen and come back, and we're going to decrease the score. So inside the enemies touch cake function, so we're going to go into enemies touch cake function. We want to use a condition to test if they have touched, and a good one is touching. Let's build one enemy, and then we'll build the second enemy. So we're going to say if enemy 1 is touching cake, I want to subtract from the score it says by 2. I had 5 in the one that they did. I'm glad that they're doing 2 because that's too many points. And then we want to loop the enemy back to the left side of the screen. I hate that they don't put that in its own function that you can call here. I think it does later in here. It makes you do that. They should just do it right off the bat. But what I'm going to do is put enemy 1 back to 0, and then set that Y position of enemy 1 back to that random number. So a random Y location between 150 and 250 on the bridge. So enemy 1 should work now. I'm just going to let him touch the cake and make sure. Perfect. Enemy 2, I just want the same exact code. I'm just going to change all of the 1s in enemy to 2s. And now they both should be able to touch the cake and get my score to go down. Beautiful. And they both come back. Love it. Alright, next up. Oh, that was the second ladybug. Sorry, I already did that one. Beautiful. The copy and pasting. We already did it. Alright, so here's where they're telling you to do what I said was the smartest thing to do. We need 2 functions. We need 2 functions that set each of the enemies, because right now it's having us put the enemies back in several places. If you look right here, here's enemy 2, x equals 0, y equals random number. That's up here too. If we're doing that in more than one place, because when we push them off the bridge, we're going to do the same thing. We don't want those same lines of code over and over again. That's redundant, which means it's too much. It's happening again and again. When we have redundant code like that, it makes way for there to be errors. It also just adds more code, which is making it harder to read, and can put stress on the system if it's more complex code. So we're going to make functions instead that are set enemy 1 and set enemy 2. So set enemy 1 is going to be this code. So the enemy 1x to 0. Arrow myself all the way down here. And I'm going to do the same thing for enemy 2. You could change all of these 1s to 2s. Now I'm going to go back through my code. Everywhere I'm doing these, I'm going to call this function to do it. Okay? So, right here, I'm going to throw this away, and I'm going to say set enemy 2. Right here, enemy 1 being set. I'm just going to call that function set enemy. If I could spell 1. That also occurs up here before we even do anything. So let's throw these guys away. And let's call that, because you can call a function up here. It doesn't matter. You can call it before you start your draw loop. That's here. Throw away. Okay. So it should still work just the same. I'm just calling those functions now to do exactly what I wanted it to do before when I was calling the code. No big deal. Alright, it's time for us to be able to push our enemies off the bridge. We're going to use the Displace to do that. If you look, they have a Displace Enemies function created for you. That's just using the Displace box in there. I don't think that really needed to be its own function, but whatever. The player will be displacing the enemy, not the other way around. Remember, it's a pushing. So you want to make sure that you have that correct. They will keep going after you push them right now, but you should be able to push them around, which is what we wanted just on this. You don't need to worry about debugging because it's fine. Like the debug boxes are in the right place. I'm not having any issues with where I'm touching the sprite. I'm not going to bother debugging. Alright, so the last thing we need to do is have the enemies reset when they touch the water. We already wrote functions for that. That's why we wrote these set enemy functions. So what we're going to do is go inside this enemies touch water right here. So when enemies touch that water, their Y location is either going to be less than 140. If you look at it running right here, like this is a 140 right here. So if they are less than 140 on the Y or greater than 260 on the Y, they're touching the water. We want them to disappear and reset to the other side of the screen. So that's what we're going to check for here. We're going to say if, and I'm going to say enemy, we're going to need a bunch of these. Enemy 1.y is less than 140. That means it's off the top of the screen. I'm going to call set enemy 1. I need to do that with enemy 2 as well. So I'm just going to copy and paste and change. Oops. I put 2 instead of 1 right there. Now we need enemy 2. Sorry. My brain not working this morning. So enemy 1, enemy 1, enemy 2, enemy 2. Enemy looking like a weird word to anybody else right now. When you spell a word sometimes, so many times you look at it, so many times it starts to look super funky. That is happening to me right now. All right, let's do if, and we're going to do if enemy 1, and then we're going to look if it's off the bottom, which would be greater than 260. So if it's Y value, whoops, let's put the .y in there. .y is greater than 260. We're going to do the same set enemy, so you can copy and paste that in. And we're going to do this again for enemy 2. If enemy 2's Y value is greater than 260, it's off that bottom part of the bridge, and we want to set enemy 2. Now, if you push the enemy off the bridge, we have to add to the score. So we get a point. So we're going to say score equals score plus 1. And we're going to put that in each one of these. Notice I can copy and paste multiple times just to get that in there. So here's what that display, or enemies touch water should look like now. Enemy 1, Y less than 140, set enemy 1, score plus 1, greater than 260, same thing, move that enemy back, score 1. Then move on to enemy 2, less than 140. That's off the top of the bridge. Set enemy 2, score 1. And if the enemy's off the bottom of the bridge, set enemy 2, score goes up by 1. Okay. Now we should be able to push these little disgusting bugs off into the water and gain score. And now look at how much better this is where it's not 5 points. You can actually maybe do some damage in this game. Whereas before I was like losing ridiculously. I'm still not doing great here. I'm very bad at this game, don't judge. I think if the alien moved faster, I would be better at it, but it doesn't, and I don't. Okay, there we go. Now, it says you just walked through someone else's plan for creating games, so now it's time to do your own. What additional features or challenges do you want to create? If you are done, I do want you to try one of these. Pick one to do. I'm not going to walk you through each of these. You can change your pictures to look like something else. You don't have to change the names of your sprites because they were enemy, player. The cake one you'll have to change to match whatever it is. If you do, randomizing the speed of your enemy is pretty easy. You're just going to go look where your velocity is and randomize it. Changing that high score background is just like we did in the last game that we built together with the bunny that was catching the carrots. So you could go back and look at how we did that. And then ending the game, we did that which game? One of the past games that we did has an end game on it. And if you go back and look at that, that's an example. That's why we build these games together. Because then you have all of these examples to go look at for super awesome ideas of what to do. Not the side scroller, the flyer game has the end. This flyer game has the end game. So use that to help you build your ending screen.